All right, ahead in this broadcast tonight, 9 more cases of coronavirus confirmed here in the country, bringing the total number to 25. We'll be bringing you details of that and much more. Also in the broadcast, we have a conversation on being the World TB Day. We have a conversation on criminalization of people with TB. But in this case, we'll be discussing the injustices surrounding the isolation of people with COVID-19. But first, top stories of the day. Well, thank you so much for joining us here at Ebru Primetime News. As usual, we encourage you to stay home and stay safe as we inform you from across the world with the details on the coronavirus updates. My name is Diana Rachel Mbugua. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Joyce Wairimo. Now, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe now says you are likely to face more anti-coronavirus stringent measures starting Wednesday as Kenyans continue to defy existing directives. Now, visibly agitated, Kagwe says the defiance to these directives is likely to cost you even as the number of confirmed cases jump to 25. Take a look.
We are suffering from cases of indiscipline, and Kenyans are exhibiting a very indisciplined behavior, and this is going to cost us.
The government is clearly facing a Herculean task of enforcing the measures put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country.
That every measure we take, we'll have a countermeasure in terms of government effectiveness.
With the numbers now jumping to 25.
We have received confirmation of 9 people who have tested positive to the coronavirus disease. This brings the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Kenya to 25.
Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe lashing out at Kenyans for defying, among others, the stay-home and the PSV directives.
That the kids were not sent home on holiday. The kids were sent home for protection. You do it when you are being watched by the police, and then when you leave the police, you go and start doing it, you go back to normal. It is unfathomable. It is difficult to understand what you are trying to do. Are you trying to kill yourself?
And for that, he says, you should expect even more stringent measures starting Wednesday.
Tomorrow, we will be announcing further measures as in view and in consideration of the developments so far.
Kagwe saying the government is even on a higher alert in 4 counties where the virus is likely to spread faster.
Nairobi, Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, we have always felt that these counties have got extra exposure.
While pledging to counter the virus with the setting up of even more testing centers.
Therefore, as we go ahead, we are going to be able to deploy testing to the county level so that we can be able to have a shorter turnaround time and therefore quicker decision making and to reassure Kenyans about.
Out of the 9 new cases, 7 are Kenyans, while 2 are foreigners, 3 having contracted it from other confirmed cases, while the 4 from other countries.
We now have remaining 647 close contacts that our tracing teams are monitoring.
CS Kagwe also admitted that the government has been facing challenges with facilities set aside for mandatory quarantine.
Particularly at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, as well as the designated hotels and government facilities, where we are taking the travelers for mandatory quarantine. I want to once again appeal to all travelers to bear with us as we continue to undertake this process.
At the moment, 15 persons are still admitted in hospitals, with 2 being critically ill.
The one in Kilifi, we actually flew a ventilator, for them yesterday, and from what the reports I got this morning is that the Frenchman is responding well. But all the other people that have tested positive are okay.
The government, in conjunction with the Kenya Pipeline Company, has promised to deliver over 2 million pieces of sanitizers to Kenyans, especially those in informal settlements. KPC Managing Director Irungu Macharia noted that over 1 million liters of ethanol will be used in the blending exercise. Our reporter Milia Kisenya with more.
To ensure that Kenyans adhere to the proposed regulations in fight against the COVID-19 virus, the government has provided 1 million liters of ethanol that will oversee the production being done locally. Kenya Pipeline Company manager Irungu Macharia, while overseeing the delivering of 57,000 liters of ethanol from the customs duty of office that will be used in the blending exercise, is expected to produce at least 2 million pieces from a half a liter.
Altogether, what is held by customs is about 1 million liters. So if you calculate the current price of sanitizer of 2,000 shillings per half liter, you are looking at the government is going to blend together with the oil companies and the people who are participating in this thing, hand sanitizer worth 4 billion shillings.
And on the necessary measures in place to ensure that the sanitizers that contain 80% alcohol do not end up on the wrong hands, Macharia had this to say.
What we've done, especially on the larger packs, they are instead of putting a sticker, which you can remove very easily, it is stenciled on the container, not for sale and for the government of Kenya.
Taking it to the streets on the government's move to provide free sanitizers, a majority of the Kenyans lauded it.
Ni sawa gawa ikiwa imepropose kutupatia hizo sanitizer ni sawa, kwa sababu tuna hata watu wengine hawana uwezo ya kusipata kununua, hata hawana pesa.
Naona kusema ukweli serikali inafaa ichangie kwa hiyo maneno, sababu isipotusaidia kazi imesimama, na saa nyingine hiyo kitu ni pesa mingi na tuwezi jibaia sisi wote.
Itanisaidia sana kabisa, because especially you see like me here, I'm handling lots of money, like most of the payments, since gava ito historia kulipa cash kumocha, so most of the payments are done through M-Pesa. So basically I'm handling a lot of cash.
Yeah, we are using water in order to sanitize ourselves so as to take precautions, because the sickness will come from nowhere. Yeah.
The over 1 million liters of ethanol released by the Customs Duty Office was smuggled ethanol into the country with a street value of at least 60 million Kenya shillings. The hand sanitizers are expected to be delivered to Kenyans, especially those in informal settlements, and will be released to the markets at reasonable prices. With the fight of the COVID-19 virus in the country and the ensurety that every Kenyan is provided with a sanitizer that has proven scarce in the Kenyan market, over 57,000 liters of ethanol have been provided for the blending exercise to produce the sanitizers, with President Uhuru Kenyatta awaiting to launch them. Milia Kisenya for Ebru TV.
Well, thank you, Milia, for that. Now, the government has raised a red flag over the manner a section of Kenyans are dealing with the whole stay-home directive, especially with their children. Now, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe now says it is not advisable to bring in tutors or house helps during this period to look after their kids while they work, advising them to instead monitor the minors personally.
When we tell people, keep your kids safe, we don't mean you keep your kids safe by bringing somebody in who, for all you know, is coronavirus positive. We are telling you to keep your kids home with you at home, not exposing them to the disease. That's why they are home in the first place. It's a grievous mistake for us to give you your child because we don't want the child exposed, and then you go exposing the child at home. And then afterwards, you call us and say, Serikali saidia. It doesn't work. This is one time when you saidia, the government won't saidia, because the government cannot help each and every home and every child. We want responsibility among citizens.
All right, now national carrier Kenya Airways is now offering free tickets to Kenyan citizens in the United States who want to fly back home, as the last flight is set to depart New York was later today. Now, this comes after the government announced that all international flights would be suspended effective Wednesday midnight as a means of combating the coronavirus. KQ, in a statement on Tuesday, announced that the one-way tickets were up for grabs to any Kenyans in need, urging them to reach out to them for more information. The airline further announced that the passengers would be subjected to screening procedures as instituted by the Ministry of Health. In a statement on Sunday, KQ said cargo flights will, however, remain operational to offer emergency services and supplies. Now, the art of washing hands and just how to do is now like a national chorus, with both the mainstream and social media awash with tutorials and manuals, especially ever since the advent of the novel coronavirus pandemic across the globe. But today we had a chance to get classes from the mistress herself, Miriam Sidibe, who happened to be among the few or the only person to hold a PhD in hand washing.
Yes, indeed. I have a PhD in hand washing from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. I'm currently a senior fellow at Harvard. What I currently would like to demonstrate is what is important for the nation to remember in terms of hand washing with soap. What you need to remember is that you need to wash your hands regularly. It has to be thorough hand washing with soap and water, and that there is 7 steps to it. So very important that you remember that it has to be at least 20 seconds under running water. You need to make sure that obviously you have the soap. A bar or a liquid works perfectly well. Any soap is good for that. Just remember that at the same time. So you take the soap, of course, imagine there's a soap, there's running water, you rub it on. You make sure that you wash inside with the running water as well. Then on top, as well, make sure that your fingers and inside your fingers are well washed, as well as every part of your fingers as well. And this should last at least 20 seconds. A good way to remember this is to sing happy birthday twice when you want to wash your hands. That should be able to do it. And make sure you keep running water as well. That's absolutely critical.
All right, now Kenya, being a cultural society, is most often than not filled with myths and half-truths surrounding nearly everything, like washing hands. One of the myths has been washing hands using ash. Myth Dr. Sidibe debunked. Take a look.
Yes. The evidence says that basically what's important is the abrasive movement in the soap. The abrasive movement in the soap allows you to remove the viruses. And as we know, coronavirus falls in the category of what we call the enveloped viruses, which the abrasive situation with the water and the soap removes the virus and kills it and removes it from your hand. You can use ash, but what we have also found, and the data is showing that you'll find that ash tends to be contaminated with E. coli. So we do think that hand washing with soap is the #1 solution that we provide.
All right, now moving on, the government's directive to reduce passengers boarding public service vehicles has seen several public transport providers lament over daily losses, with Health CS Mutahi Kagwe Monday warning against hiking of fare prices. Meanwhile, in Murang'a County, Governor Mwangi wa Iria has banned public service vehicles from leaving or coming into the county.
Murang'a County Governor Mwangi wa Iria issued an order to restrict people from getting into the county or leaving from the county.
Mimi nataka kila mtu wa Murang'a anunue sabuni yake. Sabuni ya mti. Ukate kidogo tu kama ya shilingi 3. Uweke kwa mfuko. Na hata maji. Kubeba maji lita 2 na kamfuko itakuumiza nini? Ili wewe uwe na maji yako na kasabuni yako kidogo. Watu wa bodaboda pia, ama tufunge hizo bodaboda. Lazima mtu abebe maji yake na sabuni yake, na mtu wa bodaboda aweke ka sanitizer hapo.
The governor gave this directive so as to try and restrict movement as one of the ways to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
Na kama ni emergency, kama ni mambo ya dharura, tutakuweka kado, na hiyo hata ni sisi tutashughulikia, sio wewe, mambo ya dharura. Kwa hivyo mimi stage zote, na sio hazikuangi nyingi, stage za kwenda Nairobi tunajua ni ngapi. Hizo stage mimi sidai kuona watu huko. Kama ni mambo ya chakula, hapa tuna chakula Murang'a. Kama ni mambo ya dharura, kama unataka kwenda kuona daktari Kenyatta, tunataka uripoti kwa daktari wetu, huyo ndiye atakusaidia. Ile emergency yangu ile kubwa ni mtu ambaye ana ugonjwa wa corona na anataka kwenda kutibiwa ama kuangaliwa nje ya Murang'a. Hiyo ndio emergency number 1. Emergency number 2 ni wagonjwa ambao lazima waone madaktari, na hao madaktari wako nje, hao waripoti kwa hospitali zetu. Sisi wenyewe tutawasaidia kuwasiliana na hao madaktari. Tunapuliza kila mahali na tumeanza hiyo kazi. Kwa hivyo mimi sitaki kuona gari zinatoka na gari zinaingia. Hiyo nyingine ni mambo ya sabuni.
He also ordered boda operators to have soap, water and our sanitizer for protection. Elsewhere in Mwingi sub-county, passengers are complaining of the increment in the fare charges.
Safiri kutoka Mwingi kuelekea Kitui, na kulingana na usafiri hauko salama juu hata nauli za gari zimepanda, na kila mwananchi anaumia na anateseka juu hizo nauli zimekuwa bei ghali sana, kutoka 300 kwenda 500.
On the other hand, the matatu operators are urging the government to reduce the fuel prices so that they can drop the high fare charges.
Kama gava itapunguza fuel, sisi tuko sawa, tutaregesha bei yetu. Fuel ilikuwa 70 ama 60 bob. Hiyo per liter iko sawa, tutaregesha bei yetu. Lakini sasa hii fare ni 500 sababu fuel moja per liter iko already 110 115. Na hiyo fuel per liter hiyo ni pesa mingi sana.
The Central Bank of Kenya projects that economic growth will decline significantly in 2020 from a baseline estimate of 6.2% to possibly 3.4%, arising from reduced demand by Kenya's main trading partners, disruptions of supply chains and domestic production. Now, Central Bank Governor, Dr. Patrick Njoroge said that the government was trying to come with policies that would help address the shocks occasioned by the crisis.
These are extraordinary times.
These are the words of the Central Bank Governor, Dr. Patrick Njoroge, on the effects of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic on the economy. Dr. Njoroge noted that the pandemic had not only affected economies worldwide with serious economic ramifications.
We also know that supply chains have been broken, disrupted. Thirdly, we have seen the financial markets globally react violently.
Based on the uncertainty about the crisis, the governor said that the central bank was putting in mechanisms to deal with the pandemic.
We do not know how long this crisis will last. So we had to take sort of an educated guess in terms of the recovery. And from our perspective, all we can do as policymakers is policy actions to limit the damage or to minimize the extent to which, let's say, growth will decline.
Expressing optimism that the government will be able to deal with the crisis, the governor assured that the country has adequate reserves to deal with import shocks.
The reserves that we have, and US dollars 8,250,000,000, something like a little more than 5 months of import cover for an exchange market, has remained fairly balanced. But at the same time, we've seen some volatility in it.
The governor also enumerated a raft of measures that include reprieve for individual and small and micro enterprises.
The decisions relate to banks providing relief to borrowers on their personal loans based on the individual circumstances arising from the pandemic. And to provide relief on personal loans, banks will review requests from borrowers for extension of their loans for a period of up to 1 year. The SMEs and corporate borrowers were also advised to contact their banks for assessment and restructuring of their own loans based on their respective circumstances arising from the pandemic.
Other measures include lowering the central bank rate to 7.25% from 8.25%.
And this will allow to create more room for the banks. But it is also important to appreciate that everybody needs to take a bit of the burden of the crisis.
The bank also said that the government was striving to address pending bills, a measure that had taken off very well.
There's very little pending bills from government, that's the national government. And in the counties, we have seen, of the 47 counties, we've seen 16 have fully paid their pending bills, and 31 have still have some pending bills to resolve.
The governor also said that the government was expecting financial assistance from international financial partners to caution against the economic shocks that are expected to come from the effects of coronavirus.
We are also working with the IMF for emergency assistance. This is assistance that doesn't have the conditionalities of programs. This is emergency assistance.
All right, time for me to take a very short break, but we'll be right back with that conversation on the world TB and relation to COVID-19. Don't go too far. Well, welcome back. Now, Lance Chief Administrative Secretary Gideon Mung'aro has received his coronavirus test results after he came into contact with Kilifi Deputy Governor Gideon Saburi, who tested positive for COVID-19 at a funeral in Kambe, Ribe. In a statement, Mung'aro says his samples were taken Monday. He says he, however, intends to complete his 14 days of self-quarantine. The COVID-19 wave is slowly but surely sweeping the coastal region, with several leaders and 16 police officers from Kilifi who came into direct contact with Saburi are among dozens who have gone into self-quarantine. They include Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi, Rabbi MP William Kamoti, Mtwapa Deputy OCS Bernard Otomei, who developed breathing difficulties yesterday, and Base Commander Matthew Koech. Separately, 6 Kenya Revenue Authority officers in Mombasa are also reported to have gone into isolation after they allegedly came into contact with 2 French nationals reported to have tested positive to COVID-19. The wave of the impacts of the novel coronavirus has found its way in the corridors of justice, which have been forced to direct all staff to work from home as the country continues to battle the arrest of coronavirus spread this coming days after the courts adopted a raft of measures to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus in the justice sector. The David Maraga-led arm of government is leveraging on technology to decongest courtrooms, starting from the coastal region.
Courts in Kenya are quoting technology as a way of sticking to the Health Ministry's directive of limiting the number of people at a given place at any given time. The Malindi Law Courts being the first in line to hold proceedings through video conferencing.
The judiciary has fitted us with a smart screen, and on that smart screen we are able to connect digitally to the prison. And then we're doing the mentions of prisons today.
The exercise, conducted in conjunction with Malindi JK prisons, saw over 180 matters dispensed with by the court. In Taita Taveta, the Voi High Court presiding judge Farah Amin processed 24 files from Wundanyi Magistrates Court and issued orders for the release of 23 petty offenders from Wundanyi JK prison as part of efforts to decongest prison facilities and mitigate the spread of COVID-19.
Judges in all stations will, in the meantime, review deserving cases already identified by the prison authorities and issue appropriate revision orders in an effort to decongest the prisons.
All other courts in the country have put up measures such as hearing matters at the customer care centers, most often than not in the outdoors, to maintain a social distance and in turn curb the spread of the virus.
Number one, in compliance with the directive issued by the National Emergency and Response Committee, we shall forthwith scale down court activities throughout the country for a period of 2 weeks.
This is in line with the National Council on the Administration of Justice move to scale down court activities in compliance with the directives issued by the National Emergency and Response Committee. In the meantime, the judiciary has now directed all staff to work from home as Kenya, with 16 confirmed coronavirus cases, continues to battle to arrest the spread.
Now, the county government of Nakuru has embarked on decongesting the bus termini in major urban areas in the county in a bid to minimize possible transmission of the dreaded coronavirus disease among residents. Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui says the exercise that is expected to kick off tomorrow targets such facilities in Nakuru, Molo, Naivasha, Njoro and Gilgil in the spirited effort to minimize contact of people amid calls for social distancing from health practitioners. Speaking at a weekly news conference on COVID-19 preparedness in Nakuru, the governor said a joint emergency and response committee on coronavirus disease in the county has begun to identify alternative places for more than 3,000 bus operators to drop their passengers in the towns.
There is excessive congestion in our markets, and in particular Wakulima market alongside with our other markets including Naivasha, Molo and other places. But we note that this congestion in the markets, both by the operators and also by the customers, remains our weakest link in the fight against the spread of coronavirus.
He also directed the halt of market days in the towns in the spirit of minimizing convergence of people at common points, another major catalyst of the spread of the novel virus that has infected at least 25 people in the country over the last 2 weeks. The county boss also said part of the strategy is to redistribute small traders to various locations within Nakuru municipality with a view of scaling down hawking.
We'll be mounting patrols and ensuring that this is the compliance is done. For the circles that continue to flout this, we shall also consider deregistering those circles.
Nakuru County Commissioner Erastus Mbugua reiterated that restaurants and bars will remain shut for the next 2 weeks as part of containment measures against the novel coronavirus disease.
We have realized that a few eateries are still serving food on the table. We are supposed to have a grab-and-go situation. Packed food, you eat it elsewhere, not sharing a table as you eat, or even eating it anywhere near the place that it's being dispensed.
A spot check in Nakuru town this morning established increasing panic buying among residents anticipating a possible lockdown in a not too distant future. However, government officials have quelled such fears and insisted that people stick to public health presumptions for control of the disease. Now, former Western Stima and Kisumu All-Stars head coach Henry Omino will be laid to rest on April 4th at his rural home in Gem, Ogera in Siaya County on April 4th, according to his family. Omino passed away on Friday at his rural home in Gia, Siaya County, after succumbing to thyroid cancer at the age of 71. Meanwhile, the family has set up a paybill number to help raise funds to give the football icon and legend a befitting farewell. Anyone wishing to donate to the kitty can use the paybill number 891300 with the account number Omino. Now, the Football Kenya Federation has been handed a reprieve after world governing body FIFA handed them a 30-day extension to settle 109 million shillings debt owed to former coach Adel Amrouche for unlawful dismissal. FKF had been initially instructed to pay the former tactician the amount after he was sacked from his role in 2014, and since then there have been accusations and counter-accusations between the current FKF office and the predecessor Sam Nyamweya. FKF's current office, led by Nick Mwendwa, has reiterated that the mess was occasioned by the former office, and they have constantly stated they do not have funds to settle the hefty debt, instead saying the government should help pay up. All right, that's it for Ebru Primetime News. Thank you so much for choosing us to inform you as you stay home and stay safe. Always remember to wash your hands in this time and to follow what the Ministry of Health and the WHO has told us to follow as we take measures to avoid the COVID-19. Stay home and stay safe as always as we inform you here at Ebru TV. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Diana Rachel Mbugua. Our sign language interpreter is Joyce Warimu. Do have yourselves a good night and a fantastic night ahead. God bless you.